Hi, and welcome back to Broadsheet Sydney Around Town. If it's your first time here, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a video. I'm Emma Joyce, Broadsheet's features editor, and I'm the host of this short guide to Sydney. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome Rory Warnock. Thanks for coming in. You're an ultra marathoner. You're a breathwork specialist. You're also a performance coach. And I know that you've gone into a lot of different companies like Amazon, Canva, Google, I could name so many, to basically help people find different ways that they can use their breath for either calming or potentially energizing, or maybe even getting more out of something that they do on a regular basis. Maybe they're into running. We have invited you on to Broadsheet's podcast because it's winter right now. So many people are signed up for things like City to Surf, or maybe they're doing the half marathon coming up. And I'd love to know a little bit more about how we can kind of use our breath to enjoy the run, to kind of really embrace what we're doing. Before we get into that, can you tell me, what is breath work? How did you come across this? How did you make breathwork your job?
Yeah, where to start? Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. How did I get into this space? Well, I like to think of breathwork as conscious breathing, or breathing in a specific way to create a desired outcome, whatever that desired outcome may be for you in the moment. So whether you want to improve your athletic performance to be a more efficient and effective runner, we can tap into nasal breathing to bring more oxygen into the working tissues, reduce the stress in the nervous system, the heart rate, the list goes on. Whether you want to reduce stress and anxiety, if you have a presentation, a pitch, whatever it may be, you can breathe slower. You can lengthen the exhale to move more into the parasympathetic. Whether you want to increase energy and alertness, like you mentioned earlier, you can use the mouth to breathe faster to increase that energy through the nervous system. So I find the breath fascinating, where if you understand the various tools and techniques that you can utilize throughout the day, morning, afternoon, and evening, you can just enhance life, enhance your overall well-being, how you think, you feel, you act, and you behave, to improve your general performance day to day.
So how does it differ from meditation if you practice meditation, or if you already have something in your day-to-day, maybe it's yoga, where you already concentrate on the breath?
Yeah, it's a great question. And people often say to me, well, why do I need to practice breath work if I already meditate? Well, meditation is often more so passive, and breathwork is generally always active. Breathwork, you're changing the rhythm, the rate, the depth of your breath to shift your physiology and your psychology, to change the way you think and feel, to ultimately behave and act in a more optimal way. Meditation is great for things like your focus, your attention. Breathwork is much better for reducing stress, reducing anxiety, or like we just mentioned, to increase that energy and alertness. So think of meditation as more of a passive practice, and breathwork more of an active practice. Breathwork can change the way you feel instantly. Within a couple of breaths, a couple of seconds, you can feel different.
I know that some people struggle, especially with things like, maybe sitting down, or finding 20 minutes to sit down and just be at one with your thoughts, or even take 5 minutes to concentrate. Is that something you can relate to?
100%. And this is one of the reasons I got into breathwork, where I struggled, and I still struggle with anxiety and depression. So telling me to sit with my thoughts and meditate for 20 minutes is probably one of the most backwards, paradoxical things that you can do. But then when I went to a breathwork session, and it got me out of my head and into my body, and I felt clear, calm, relaxed, almost empowered and strong. I remember just opening my eyes thinking, I want more of that. That felt good.
I saw photos of you running the Sydney Half Marathon with your mouth taped shut. And you did this to prove kind of the point of nasal breathing being really good for performance. Can you tell us why? And also, what was that experience like?
Yeah, no, apart from looking ridiculous and getting some very strange looks and a couple of laughs, exactly as you said, I wanted to show and demonstrate and prove to people that we can use a nose to breathe for a long duration, a half marathon, and still perform to a high ability and a high standard. You know, again, I obviously didn't drink any fluid. I didn't have any gels or electrolytes or whatever it was. So I just went out, ran at a comfortable pace. I think it was like a 154 heart rate, and saw how I could perform. I've been practicing nasal breathing for over 3 years now whilst I run. The nose will warm the air, filter the air, humidify the air. It'll help slow the rhythm down. By breathing slower, we can actually bring more oxygen into the tissues. This is called the Bohr effect, or the oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve. Bit of a mouthful, and I always stumble over that one. But it was found out back in 1904. Less breaths for more oxygen delivery into the tissues. More oxygen, better performance, reduced fatigue. So yes, apart from looking ridiculous, I just wanted to try and help bring more people into the world of nasal breathing and breathing for performance.
So I would call myself kind of a fun runner. Definitely not somebody who is like peak performance or gunning for a PB. I enjoy the idea of joining something like City to Surf every year and just having a great time. Do you have any tips or advice for someone like me who might be joining? I've got a moderate fitness, but how can I use the breath to kind of make it a more enjoyable experience?
90% of my runs are just relaxed, easy, steady state, jog in the park, just feel the movement essentially. I'll always recommend nasal breathing whilst you do these runs. It's almost like a moving meditation as such, where you just get into a zone and you feel relaxed, you feel calm, you're not panting like a dog out of the mouth. The breath is entering the body, you're getting more oxygen into tissues, your heart rate isn't spiking as much. And when you're focusing on one thing, the inhale, the exhale, the nasal breathing, breathing deep, your half-hour run feels like 5 minutes. And once you finish, you're breathing normally again, you're not out of breath, you don't have a dry mouth, you just get on with your day, your morning, your afternoon, your evening, whatever it is, and you feel good. It takes a little bit of practice. If you have been running for, say, 20 years with your mouth, breathing through your mouth, then to suddenly swap and use your nose, it's almost like swapping from using your right hand to right and then your left hand to right. It's a bit of a change, but the body is designed to adapt. We conscious stress to promote adaptation. So over time, it will adapt and it'll become more easier, for no better word.
Now, obviously, what you do is not just limited to kind of fitness or helping people with peak performance in a kind of fitness sense. You've worked at places like Google, and we talked about it before, Uber, Canva. Why are you going into companies like that? What are they hoping that you'll help their colleagues with or their employees with?
Yeah, workplace wellness is really important to me for a lot of reasons. I worked in London in consumer goods sales for a short 3-year chapter. And if I'm being brutally honest, I was fairly miserable. That's where my anxiety and depression really was at its peak. I know how much stress people feel in the corporate world, in the corporate environment. It can be hard. And I just want to simply give people a bit of joy, a bit of happiness throughout their day, throughout their week, just to feel more calm, more balanced, and more themselves, essentially. So I've worked with a lot of corporates to help people feel happier and healthier through simple breathing techniques.
Can you run through any with us?
Yes.
I was almost hesitant to ask because I know that will involve me also giving it a go, but I'd love to try.
Close your eyes. So the first technique that I'll always work into with the corporates is breath awareness. So as I'm speaking here and as you're breathing, simply noticing the breath as you breathe. Just noticing if you're breathing high into the chest or low into your belly.
Yeah, probably way too high into the chest, probably too, almost like I'm sat on the edge of a seat.
And now just noticing if you're breathing fast or if you're breathing slow.
I'm definitely trying to breathe slower.
And noticing if you're using the nose to breathe or the mouth to breathe.
100% nose.
Good. And just noticing if the breath gets stuck anywhere as you breathe in or if it feels smooth as you breathe in and out.
Probably a bit of both.
So that's the first technique that I always practice first. Then we'll move into more of a functional breathing pattern training. Then we'll finish with a conscious connected practice. I always like to start with awareness, as awareness is the first stage, the first step to development. You can blink up with the eyes now.
Thanks.
Hope you enjoyed that.
I did. It was like a micro nap. I feel like it's one of those really difficult things to incorporate into your life if you feel like you've got your phone going off with notifications, or maybe you're being called into a meeting, maybe a child's crying in the corner. That's my particular example. How can you kind of carve out space to give yourself time to focus on your breath?
We live in a world where people want morning routines, evening routines, but I'm much more passionate about awareness. Awareness of what you need, when you need it, and how to fulfill that need. So for example, if your kid is crying, then you're trying to put your child to sleep. They then get to sleep. What do you do in that moment? You feel maybe a little bit stressed. You feel your heart rate is beating fast. And I'm not saying you do this, of course, but a lot of people will then turn to a bottle. You go get a bottle of wine, you get a bottle of beer, and that's the low-hanging fruit, the easier option. Or do you close your eyes, put the headphones on, listen to an incredible piece of music that really shifts your state, and breathe for, 5 minutes. That's all you need. I try to do between 5 to 10 different breathwork practices per day. I'm not doing 10 different breathwork practices, but I'll do at least 5 to 10 conscious breathing exercises, whether it's breath awareness, whether it's 4-6 breathing to downregulate, whether it's more of an upregulating breathing technique to switch on, increase energy, or whether it's more that conscious, connected, cyclical breathing just to feel more relaxed and calm in the evening. Everything is awareness. As soon as you're aware of what you need, then you can change, develop, and improve.
So you live in Bondi and you have a kind of community there and do some breath work. Can you tell us about what you do?
Yeah, no. So I host breathwork sessions at Lean Bean, which is in Bondi. And we'll tap into those 3 techniques. We'll do breath awareness, we'll then move into functional breathing pattern training to tap into our physical body, improve oxygen delivery, lung volume, diaphragm function, tap into the parasympathetic, increase your heart rate variability. Then the 3rd technique to tap into your mental state, mental clarity, is a more conscious connected practice. So understanding that the brain and body are directly linked, and how we can use the breath to tap into brain and body together.
If people have decided that they want to learn a little bit more, where can they find information?
Rory Warnock _ is my Instagram. RoryWarnock.com is my website. And then my email is rory@rorywarnock.com.
Well, thanks so much, Rory. I'm going to try and use that next time I'm putting a crying baby down.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's all we have time for today. As always, you can keep up to date at broadsheet.com.au and at broadsheet_Sid on Instagram. I'll be back next week, same time, same place. Chat then.